With the day's biggest and buzzing business news of the day, and indeed we are covering the political spectrum as well. A very warm welcome to this edition of Business at 9 here on ET Now. I'm Vikram Oza. Now, as far as political developments go today, the 1st of April, which is unofficially celebrated as All Fools' Day, has turned out to be this mixed bag for the opposition alliance. For one, Arvind Kejriwal has been sent to judicial custody. He has been sent to Tihar jail. The Congress party, on the other hand, has got some relief after its tax troubles has reached the Supreme Court, where the centre has now assured that no coercive action is going to be taken against the Congress party until after the elections. So the question is, can the Congress capitalize on this relief they have on what they call tax terrorism? And what happens to AAP's strategy in the light of the prolonged detention of Arvind Kejriwal in the alleged liquor policy scam? So these are the questions that we'd like to pose, and to answer them, we have Madhavan Narayanan joining us. He's, of course, a senior journalist and author. Great to have you with us this evening, Mr. Narayanan. You know, the centre's statement in court that there will not be coercive action against the Congress on the tax demand ahead of the polls, I don't know how much of a credence it gives to the Congress's charge against the government of tax terrorism. What do you think?
Well, I think the most important point to remember is that in this particular instance, the court seems to have almost explicitly recognized that any tax-related crackdown on an opposition party amounts to some kind of a conflict of interest, because the law enforcement agencies report to the government and therefore to the ruling party. For any action against an opposition party, even if it is assumed with the good intent, if you look at the history of the case, which stretches back years, the timing and the manner, which basically means just ahead of general elections, and also some sort of a optics being built about, some kind of a gross violation of law, are such that this was creating, from the Election Commission's point of view and from the judiciary's point of view, a potential conflict of interest. So the court has done the right thing by asking the tax law enforcers to, quote-unquote, lay off until the elections are over, because that basically means that if it is dragged on for so many years, why not another couple of months more? Because otherwise it tends to convey an impression that this is a witch hunt. So that seems to be a big relief for the Congress. But I must watch the situation on what it means for withdrawal of funds and actual logistics of the elections. But some of the damage might have been done for the Congress, because some kind of imagery has been built that here is a party that in India for so long, and yet look at them potentially, violating law in terms of tax payment. However, it's also important that Congress has been not taking it on its chin, and it's giving it back.
Yes.
So they themselves totaled up another number. It sounds very fancy for you and me to hear of 4,000 crores here and 1,600 crore there.
Yes.
These are only claims and narrative.
There are claims and counterclaims, and there are several narratives, as one can expect in the heat and fury of elections. Smita Gupta is also joining us, and she's a senior journalist. Let me get in her perspective too. Smita Gupta, what do you think? This is reprieve to the Congress? Does this entire charge the Congress has been making against the centre of tax terrorism, is it more about the timing, or is the merits of the case also in question with the kind of move that has come in the Supreme Court today to kind of give the Congress some reprieve on the tax claim?
I think both. In any election in a democracy, there has to be a level playing field. And this has, I think, upset the idea of that level playing field, that just on the verge of the elections, this kind of charge has been placed against the Congress party. I'm not saying that the charges are false or the charges are true. I'm not going into that. But there is a principle of a level playing field, and without money, obviously, no political party can fight an election. So I think the Congress does stand vindicated. Of course, how this is played out to people at large on the ground, that will also matter. And a third point that I'd like to make is that this issue, as well as that of Mr. Kejriwal being jailed, is something that is being taken notice of by democracies in the West. And that is something I don't think this the party in power, the BJP, it's good for it, or it is enjoying being criticized abroad.
So do you think there will be a fallout in the elections? Because it seems like a strategy, as far as the BJP is concerned. How much of the strategy would work for it, if at all it can be called that?
Well, this is all a matter of communication, if you ask me. Will the BJP be able to project the fact that it has been, very sort of large-hearted and, allowed the Congress, allowed this case to be deferred till after the general elections are over? Or is the Congress able, through its, able to amplify the message that BJP, is nervous and therefore is trying to, push every opponent into a corner? So this is a matter of communication. Who succeeds in this battle, this propaganda battle, that will decide, who
So
gains.
there is a very strong strategy from the BJP's side as far as agenda setting is concerned for these elections, Mr. Narayanan. How do you think it's playing out? Is this, of course, there is this reprieve that the Congress is getting on the funds that it requires to fight the general elections. How much of a reprieve is it? Has crucial time been lost? Because that is going to be an important piece as well. And agenda setting, who has the more strong control right now?
It's interesting that you asked this question, because only 3-4 months ago, the agenda seemed to have been set by Mr. Modi. And after the assembly election victory that saw the BJP doing very well in states like Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. However, the electoral bonds verdict by the Supreme Court, I'm not mincing words, it was a big setback for the BJP, and the opposition parties seem to have grabbed the, have run with the ball, as they say, have grabbed the initiative. And as far as Mr. Kejriwal is concerned, it's very important to understand that Kejriwal does not easily fit into the kind of narrative that BJP tries to build for him, because apart from being an IIT educated, fairly articulate, oratorially, oration-wise talented leader, he's also ruling over Delhi, which has a literacy rate of 86% and has the highest per capita income in India, or one of the highest. I think it is the highest, which basically means that Delhi has a high middle-class character in which the tendency to analyze and discuss things, accompanied by the Aam Aadmi Party's local government performance, seem to give him some sort of what you would call a shield with which to field the bullets being fired at him by the BJP. And it's also important, as Smita mentioned rightly, the word, few leaders, so many arrests have taken place over the enforcement directorate charging this and that leader. But Arvind Kejriwal has got murmurs of what you could call support from the UN and the US, and that is a shot in the arm. So it all adds up to a certain amount of agenda setting, which has been, as I look at it, a challenge thrown by the government or the ruling party has been converted into an opportunity.
Yes.
You can call Mr. Kejriwal Mr. Nautanki or anything, but politics is about optics and ground level actions.
Right.
And some of the actions from, Smita and I have covered lots of elections, what we discuss in the drawing rooms and what people mean and imbibe in the fields.
Yes.
have contrasting perspectives.
Yes.
So from that point of view, I would not be surprised that Kejriwal has fended off these bullets well.
Yes.
But the most important point is that BJP is actually making this such a big prestige issue,
right,
because the statehood for Delhi was actually secured by the BJP. So it really hurts when somebody like Kejriwal comes and starts ruling in the kingdom, quote
Correct.
unquote, that they fought for. So that all that is in the backdrop.
Yes.
But I think I'm waiting for the next opinion poll,
right,
and my guess is that some of the advantages gained by the BJP during the last assembly elections have been lost by the electoral bonds case and some of the actions, extreme or perceived extreme actions by the BJP.
Right.
Last but not the least, I want to mention that, this is not just about winning elections or anything. It's also about some sort of credibility. The Modi government, very interesting to note, has been stressing more on the misdeeds of the opposition than its own performance over the past decade. And I don't know how that will actually pay out in the campaign, because I don't see the opposition actually taking advantage of that yet. Although there are
Correct.
memes and jokes, but there
Yes.
is no aggressive positioning on that yet.
That is correct. And how the challenge that the opposition alliance could actually pose to the BJP at this stage is going to be an important piece to watch. Have they been caught on the back foot with the kind of strategy that BJP has played out so far? It is going to be very obvious, and the timing, of course, is going to be something that is going to be very crucial at this stage, because the run-up to the elections now, we don't have too much time before the entire process unfolds. We will keep tracking developments on that count. But Smita, Gupta and Mr. Narayanan, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on this issue here on this edition of Business at 9.